What's that? You just sit wherever you want. You could,
Oh, no, no,
you could probably sit over here because the camera will pick you up better. And okay, and I'm going to start the webinar if there's other people. And oh, I had what I needed, which I did. Actually, I need a piece of paper and a pad of paper because in my, oh yeah, in my zest of running out. Maybe both. Don't worry, pencil for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to start this. I'm going to be taking my mask off. This was whoever speaks is going to take off their mask so they can be clearly seen. I sort of put this together last minute with Max. We wanted to showcase the office. Technically, we're still allowing Zoom meetings, and I'll let you know, but we also wanted to show you the office. So we've got a great crew here today, live at the studio. We've got Andrew Ritchie next to me. We've got Max, our assistant district manager, and we've got Susan, one of our heads of our task force. So I also thought it could be a way to start to walk before we run. I know there's a lot of fears about being in the office from others. I know other people want to come in, but and I thought this would be a good way. This is a completely voluntary meeting, so this technically is a Zoom, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But this was our idea. This was the idea. We're all social distancing, and the idea is whoever speaks will take off their mask, and the other people put it on. And those are the rules. That's sort of what we're going to do. But welcome to our first hybrid meeting here at the office, and welcome to the hybrid steering meeting in general. So thanks everyone for coming.
Done.
So as always, I think we've run a pretty tight ship on the steering, and I foresee that to be the same. The first thing that I wanted to discuss, so our agendas is the chair report, then they are the reports from the different committees, and then we have any open new business or old business. I'm about to start, but I see a hand raised already. So Mark, did you want to say something?
Yeah, hi. Since there's no chat, I can't let you know quietly that there are several of our colleagues who are among attendees, and maybe you want to promote them.
Great idea. Thank you. So I'll do so. How do I do that? There we go. Okay. Well, you all get to see the, if we do it this way, you're going to get to see the behind the screen. Okay, and I see, okay. Okay, so I think that was everyone. That is all of the other, everyone got promoted. So sorry about that. Thank you, Mark. I think everyone heard that got promoted beforehand, right? I mean, even though you weren't in here, I think I don't think I have to repeat myself, but we're having sort of a hybrid steering meeting. And I want to thank those who ventured out and are joining me here. So we'll kind of go through. So the first part is we'll start with the chair report. There's two major things, and everyone should know that that's the camera. So there's two major things that we want to discuss today. One is the open meetings law. It has, well, anybody realize it? It was about to expire today. It had been extended, but there was multiple different opportunities to extend it. The one that got extended was the least, so it was 30 days. So technically today was going to be the end, and it was one of the reasons why Max and I decided to do sort of a hybrid meeting, because we thought we'd have to talk about this, but we have another 30 days. So it has been extended, and for those people who may not understand the nuance, the open meetings laws of Zoom is now tied to the emergency orders by the governor. So they're no longer voting on that aspect, but since the governor extended her duties 30 days or her opportunity, then ours is 30 days. So we have another 30 days, but between the two of us, I have a feeling that, again, this is my own personal opinion, this is going to be the last run. That's sort of what I think. It was my understanding from many, many people that I reached out that most people didn't think it was going to be extended. I did get a call late Friday, early Monday that there was now a 50-50, then that moved to it. So we have 30 days. So for the next 30 days, we are allowed to do Zoom meetings for both full board and for committee meetings. Max and I started to take steps to do a full board meeting this month. We will now do it to the next month unless it get extended. So this month's full board will be another Zoom. Maybe we'll do a hybrid if you want. We could talk about that, but it's going to be a Zoom meeting. But we are getting close to the period of time where those meetings are going to be over. That's my opinion. One of the things that we did was took the time to sort of set up this office to be able to do hybrid meetings. And I wanted to sort of say some of the functions. As you see, the office has been moved over a little bit here. In the background, well, now we have a little problem because that went down. But in the background, there was all of you guys, we should be able to see people. So technically people will be able to be seen when they're Zooming so that people sitting here can see. Right now I can see you, but you guys will have to. I'm gonna do this for Andrew and we can figure out a plan B. As always, it's sort of Murphy's law. Let me see. Are you guys still seeing me? I want to double check that.
We are.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Okay, somehow.
Table with all of you there,
Great, okay.
but
Is
you're
that a
really,
screensaver
very-
timer maybe?
you're very little. You're all very
You-
little. We can see faces.
Well, we
miniature,
can
you're
zoom in a
miniature.
little bit. So there's capabilities. There's a camera mounted on the wall over here. I'm looking at you. There are different types of zooms that we can do. So this Zoom, so this is for speakers. So there is, if you notice there, Max, go over there for a minute. So for the audience, there is a speaker there. So when people want to speak, they'll come out from the audience and they will be able to speak and from the audience perspective. This is a little bit of a back far zone again. Here is a bit of a zoom in if you could see. If anyone could see, unfortunately, I have a black eye, which is a very interesting story about a bike and an e-bike, but that's a different conversation, different day. Truth is stranger than fiction, and ironic here at Community Board 7. It involves an e-bike, it involves going the wrong way, and it involves being hit by an e-bike, but that's a different conversation, different day. If everyone here wants to look up there and wave, you can see. This is how we look. We may look smaller. We can zoom this in more. So there's lots of ability, but these are sort of the set presets that we did. And this is like a little bit even tighter. Max, if you wave, you can see us a little bit more. And there are ways for us to take the camera and zoom in. So this is mounted. I'm going to go a far way and show you some other things. That is, I think this is the furthest one. If you don't see, there are microphones hanging from the ceiling. If everyone points to a microphone in front of them. So we are just speaking at normal tone. I'm speaking at tone. Andrew, you want to say something?
Hello, everyone.
Susan, would you like to say something? Susan's quite quiet today. And Max?
Hey, everyone.
So I think you should be able to hear us, and we're not needed to we're not passing a mic around, it's passing out. So we will be able to conduct a meeting in which we will all be able to speak, in which the audience could hear us. If we have a community member, they can come up, they'll speak, that goes into the thing. And eventually we'll be able to see us in the background, which is a shame, but at least they saw it for a few minutes. And that's that. If you want to multitask and go grab your computer and share, but you have to mute your computer. And you can sort of see here, right? Yep. So we'll come up with a plan B, but again, nothing ever works exactly like you do. As I was laughing today, Max and I did this, I think multiple times in a drive run, and it worked for about 10 minutes. And right before it went on, that TV went out. So I don't know what's the issue with it. So any questions? You should also know that we did a lot of prep before we opened this office. We have the proper HEPA filters are all put in here. We had a lot of procedures in terms of, I believe it's as clean as an office can be. We have the window open over here. I think that's why Susan likes to be there. So that's wide open. You can feel that coming in. We have the air. So I think we've done everything we can that you can do to make this, and I think we all feel safe here, right? So so everyone will have to judge their safety levels. Will have to continue, But Max works here every day, Jesse works here every day, and so that's the office. I'll answer a couple questions about the office itself, and if anybody has any questions, let's start there. So Elizabeth, you have a question.
Sure. It's more of just a, thank you for all that you've done to get the office open. We have had conversations within sort of the ad hoc task force with individual members about plans to open both for full board and for committee meetings. And I guess my question is, when can we, as either a steering committee or whether it's tonight or another time, spend a few minutes talking about that?
Well, I think we could talk. I would say let's have. So my answer to you, Elizabeth, is I would have a meeting and have some notes with your committee. I know you've been talking, but I would get together so you could give us some suggestions on that. And then we can have a meeting. We can put it on the agenda or talk about it with new business at next month's steering, which will be an appropriate time to talk about it. Does that work for you?
It does. I just think given that it's 30 days, I mean, just so everyone knows on this board, we've been talking about this since, December. We have had changes every time we think we're going to host a meeting or do something. There's Omicron or there's something else. And I think what you're showing tonight, Stephen, is a great way just to show that, we're trying to bring things back to normal. And, I have no agenda here other than to try to make things as productive as possible for the board. And I think our board members do too. And, what we ideally want is to be able to make our meetings as productive as possible, recognizing a new normal, but also recognizing we need to be back in person as much as we can safely and productively. Thanks.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, Stephen, you said earlier that with a 30-day extension, this month's full board will also be hybrid. I assume you meant March.
Not hybrid. It'll be this month's full board meeting will be a Zoom meeting.
Okay, so when you say this month, you mean March.
I guess this month's meeting, the next full board meeting, which will be
Okay,
first
so
Tuesday
that's
of
the
March.
March full board meeting, and the extension is through March 15th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And so all of the meetings through March 15th as of now will be Zoom meetings.
Yes, everything will remain Zoom till March 15th.
Okay, the other thing is I have a comment. Since we're going to have another month of Zoom meetings, I think that you need to restore the chat.
Okay, can we talk about that during new business? I think I'd want to stick
Okay,
to
all right.
this part of it. We can
Well,
have
I may have to leave before new business. So can I just make a comment about that?
Candidly, I prefer not, Jay. I'd like to stick to my agenda, and there's a new and old business, and right now we're talking
Okay,
about
so
part of it.
okay,
I don't want to
so
have a
the answer is
conversation
no.
about the cat at the beginning of the Zoom steering meeting. So
Okay, the answer is no. I'll
Yes, the
send,
answer is
if
no.
I'm not here for that discussion, I will send you and some others an email as to why I think it's essential that the chat be restored.
Thank you. I understand. Ken?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. I'm on 87th Street. I'll shout.
I hear an echo in the background, so
The window's open.
it's
so
like
we can hear.
someone in person and someone in the phone. So.
Two questions. One, with this technology that you've set up, will it work in full board venues?
This particular setup is here in the office. So the answer is this particular setup is here. Whether we if we wanted to make full boards a remote or hybrid thing, that would be a different setup and that would be a different conversation. But this infrastructure is permanent. That camera up here, that camera that I'm looking at you at is mounted. These microphones are mounted. So this infrastructure is here at the office.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
And, okay. And has any thought been given, or is anyone supporting Brad Hoylman's bill, which would give community boards the option of deciding for themselves whether how they want to proceed, whether or not the governor ends the emergency, which, as we know, is a political decision as much as a health decision.
I'm not sure what you mean. CB7 has not taken a position on Brad's bill, whether we all have individual ones, but we have not voted or taken a position on Brad's bill. And so that's the answer to that. There isn't a position. Have other community boards taken them? I'm unsure as well. I think so. The answer is I don't know that as well. I am aware of that bill, and I am aware of it, but I don't know what the status is. That's a separate, for everyone that should understand. There were originally multiple bills to address this. The one that got taken care of is the one I described. Brad's is more of a long-term solution that Ken's speaking about that will offer an option. And to answer your question, Ken, we as CB7 have not taken a position on that. I do not know if other community boards have not taken a position on that, but I am aware of that bill. Okay?
Yep.
Bev.
Yes, my understanding was that the borough president's office had given us a device called an owl. And I just wondered, are we using that? And does it provide any functionality on and beyond the setup that you've described?
So we have the owl. It will offer some functionality. It will certainly allow us to stream it, but I don't know the full functionality, so I can't comment on it. But what I can say is that we have an owl. It will offer some functionalities, and what we decide to do regarding full board meetings, it will be a piece of technology that we'll use. But you should know that, for instance, we were looking at using Kay's Church. Kay's Church is wired, and a lot of modern things are wired. So we'd have been able to use their entire services. We were going to stream it there. But to your answer, we do have that owl. I don't know its full capabilities because we were very focused on the office for this month.
Steven, can I add to that?
Sure.
The owl wouldn't work for the office, but it was intended to full board meetings. So you could do some sort of like hybrid meeting for the full boards.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is some functionality of hybrid, but again, I don't want to, until I know it inside and out, I don't want to start commenting on it. And I think one of the things that Max and I are going to do is start to dig in on that. Okay. Andrew.
Yes, thank you. The setup that you've just demonstrated there, if after 30 days we're back and in person, can that setup still be used for speakers that we want to address committee meetings who may not be able to make it physically to the meeting, but we still want to hear from them, like elected official or a city agency or what have you?
Yes. So people can Zoom in and can present. They could take over the screen, and they'd be looking at this screen that I'm going to punch after this meeting. You guys should all know. The screen would be showing it, and then it would also go into the computer. So what would end up happening is that somebody would then take over the screen at their computer, then I would make that square the major square up here. So you should know that part of the open meetings law is that presenters are not required to be in the room, and the community is not required to be in the room. They are all option. So anybody who wants to present from any agency does not have to be in the room. It's people that vote or people that want to be here. So
Great.
Board members need to be here, and any community member that wants to be here needs to be able to be let in.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure. What's that? No, they can present by the Zoom. So just speak up.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go. Let's practice. Go ahead. Take off your mask.
Let's
do it right.
My question was, do applicants for liquor licenses need to be here in person, or can they tune in via Zoom and present to the board?
My answer to you is they are allowed to Zoom in. They do not have to be here to present.
Thank you.
Great. Michelle.
I just wanted to add to that this would help the applicants who come to the preservation committee meetings. if they could be present via Zoom.
Great.
And
They would.
They could come to the committee meetings via Zoom, and I think what you're saying is also full board meetings.
Technically, every rule is for both committee and full board meetings. So if we are in a position where we are running hybrid full board meetings, technically people presenting or speaking do not need to be there. So if you were run a preservation and had a screen at the full board meeting, whatever venue we used, they would be able to come in. It is not required that they come in order to participate in the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we got a robust conversation. So that was good. I'm sure there was questions. Let me just look. I normally look at attendees and panelists. Okay, so we're gonna move on. This will be a conversation. Elizabeth, and to your point, perhaps the two of us should chat and come up with sort of a game plan, but I think we're looking for some recommendations out of the committee. We'll time that together and how to do that. So we can work together on that. But again, I think, do you guys want to speak what you think of the office or any perspective? I mean, you guys are here. You have nothing to say. Come on, Susan, you came down here. Say something.
It looks great, actually, and the lighting is nice, and the microphones hanging from the ceiling are wonderful. I think one of the pluses here is that the community that wants to come, but maybe has babysitting issues or other reasons they can't get here, mobility issues, whatever, will not be disenfranchised if we return to the office. And so I think that's a great plus here of having a hybrid.
I just think you should know that the microphones are not, well, Susan's at least, is not as loud as everybody would like to.
Can't hear her.
Same
Might be
problem.
because I speak a little bit louder and so if you want to speak up.
I said the office looks great.
I know how to up the volume, and I'm so nervous I'm gonna whack the system that I'm just gonna leave it be. Can you hear?
We can hear.
Did you hear Andrew when he spoke?
Yes.
All right, might just been anything you want to add, Andrew?
Yeah, I would just say it's actually very nice to see people in person, and I feel like the dynamic, even among the few of us, is different than when you just see people in their, Hollywood Upper West Side squares. And yeah, if you feel comfortable, it's very nice.
Right. And Max, anything you want to add to yourself?
Not too much, but I think it's good. I'm here most days, and it works effectively, and I'm sure we'll get the screen running soon.
Look how good I am. I just zoomed in on
There you
Max.
go.
I'm a pro already, if you didn't see that.
And
See?
I can attest, we did have the screen. It worked in all our tests today, 2 weeks ago.
Insanity. It really is Murphy's Law. Okay,
Question, are the elevators working?
they are. They're all fixed.
Hot diggity.
They no longer say options. Max did it himself, so he came in and he really a handy guy, so I gotta tell you that much. So, okay, I want to move on to topic number 2. As people are aware, Michelle Booker, our district manager, has taken some health leave. She returned this week or recently. The personnel committee had some conversations with Michelle, and I'm going to inform everyone that Michelle has let us know that she's going to be moving on from Community Board 7 to present some other opportunities. We had a mutual conversation. She put in her resignation as of this week. We wish her the best of luck. I think that she has some other opportunities that she's very excited to go pursue. We support her in her endeavors, but inevitably that's what's going to happen. Michelle is going to be transitioning for the next 30 days and helping out the office and transitioning over. But in the middle of March will be her technical last day, but she's not going to be coming into the office. So because it's for various different reasons, including some health issues. Over that period of time, we know, if anyone doesn't know, I assume by now everyone knows that Michelle has been on medical leave, and Max, our assistant district manager, and Jesse have really ran the office for the last 5 or 6 weeks. I think they've done a great job. They're going to continue to do that. So moving forward, if you have any major issues or questions, Max, our assistant district manager, is going to be the point person, and that's who you should reach out to. Jesse will still support him and will have her traditional duties around her committee. And we're going to continue to sort of improve and shore up the office. I do not have any questions about what's next because we've been laser focused on the here and now. So if a lot of hands go up and say, what's next? My answer is, we'll speak about it in the future because I don't have it. But clearly, we're going to be hiring additional staff. We will start that process as we move forward. But in the here and the now, Max will be the most senior person here. For any issues, you should reach out to him. He'll be complimented with Jesse. Max, you are in here. What's your schedule?
I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as it's just.
So there's still a bit of a hybrid schedule. I think they're here 3 days a week. I've been pleasant to know that certain people have been popping in. I think Courtney, you may have came in yesterday. So I think people are coming in. I know Max told me today that he's eager to meet all 50 people, and the best way that he can do that, he met 2 people today, so that's great. But that is going to be the process moving forward. So I'll answer any questions. There's 2 hands raised, and we'll go for it. Barbara.
First of all, I just wanted to say that Max and Jesse have been absolutely extraordinary during this period. They have really risen to do an amazing job. And about Michelle, I personally am extremely relieved that she's going somewhere else. And
Barbara, I would just ask that we only say positive things about Michelle, and we wish her the best of luck. And I don't want to interrupt you, but I think it's very important that we only say positive things about Michelle. Sorry to interrupt you, but I feel very strongly to say that.
Okay.
Michelle, we wish her the best of luck. And we hope she moves on in a positive way. And I think that's the best way that we should be handling this. It's important.
Steve, this is Blanche. I don't have a hand to raise, but I'd like to ask a question. I thought you just said, in the near future, you'd be hiring additional staff. Did that mean a replacement for the district manager, or in addition to that, additional staff?
As I said, Blanche, I have no news for you regarding the future. What we know is that we have a district manager leave. That means that there's a spot to fill, and we're going to figure out what that looks like in the coming weeks, and we'll let people know. We've been very focused on working with Michelle and then very focused on establishing the office. So I don't have any feedback as we move forward as of today.
No, my question was, were you
There is a spot open. I do not know if that's what that spot will be. I will have to let you know in the future. It's the best way I can tell you. I know your question. I don't have an answer to your question.
Not her question.
Okay. Shelley.
Yes, now that we know that Michelle won't be with us, we're fortunate that during the time when she was on medical leave, that Max rose to the occasion and did a beautiful job, not just in terms of my interactions, but people from city agencies mentioned things and other elected officials. And together with Jesse worked out very well. So we're very fortunate in this situation to have someone who's already proven himself. They haven't proved themselves. And so I'm sure we'll have an effective office, and I urge everyone to cooperate fully with them to make sure that in this transition that it works beautifully, because we need an effective district office. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Jay, did you have something additional you wanted to add?
Just a question, is there someone in the office 5 days a week? Is there a schedule?
I can answer that. Mac. Sure, Jay, it's Max.
You could take
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I will. Thank you. Getting used to the new
Should
protocol here.
look that way too.
Okay. Right now, Jesse and I have decided that we're going to overlap Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're still working in a hybrid approach, and at first we were doing staggering the days such that we weren't here. But since we're a little short-staffed, we felt that it would work best for us to overlap, so we were both collaborating in the office on the 3 days that we were both in. That might change in the future. We're going to kind of work with Mr. Brown to figure that out. But for now, that was the way that it worked best, actually, for us both to, use our time most efficiently.
Okay, so if we want to come to the office or have something. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes.
Absolutely, but if you'd like to make an appointment, I can
Oh,
hop in. And,
okay.
yeah, we can figure it out because we can be pretty flexible during this time. Can I also just say one other thing?
Say whatever you like.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Shelley and Barbara. I really appreciate the kind words, but I do just want to highlight Jessie. She's been absolutely instrumental in her 16 plus years of institutional knowledge here at CB7 has been ridiculously helpful in helping keep things going. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just make a comment.
I'll second that. She's been great.
Thank you. And I'd like to announce that that I have told Max many times that I don't know a Mr. Brown. My name is
right.
Stephen.
Sorry.
Mr. Brown was my father, but he has quietly called me Mr. Brown from time to time, which I'm honored. But if my son heard you say that, he'd crack up. Okay. Jay, is your hand still up? Did you ask your question? I'm going to turn it down if it's not, okay? I'm going to assume that that was still up. Okay. That is all of my information. So I want to get into now the part of the meeting is we're going to go around and have each committee speak about specifically if they have any resolutions for the upcoming meeting. Some of the committees have met, some of them haven't. And if you have just a few things, if you want to say again, I think we want to keep timely, but you can add things about that you think are important about your committee. So I will start with BCI.
Thank you, Stephen.
Showtime. And by the way, we concur. Working with Jesse and Max has been seamless and fabulous, and it's been a long time since we had anything that fabulous. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, now.
Yeah, but it was always that way. So.
Yeah. So Christian, we had three applications for liquor licenses. And you want to take it from here?
Yeah, but it's just the usual. It's a few liquor license applications. They all were approved. There was no one was dissenting in any of them. So
there was one that we have to tell you about. This was the Olympic Flame, and the woman who took over the who's applying for the liquor license is she's been giving back so much to the community. When you hear her story, I implore you to watch the YouTube. It will make you cry. She is so fabulous. She's been she took over right at the beginning of the pandemic, and she took the lease, and this is why she was reapplying for a liquor license. But this is the Flame is across from Olympic Flame is across from Mount Sinai, and she fed doctors and nurses and patients and everybody. I'm getting chill bumps. So it's a beautiful story. So we had a really great meeting that night.
Great.
Okay.
So 3 liquor license, fairly straightforward things. I think that's the way.
Seriously straightforward.
Great,
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's continue on. Preservation.
Thank you. We had 3 applications as well. They were each one was a little different. One you may know is west on 121 West 88th Street. They came back to us after we voted down part of their renovations and changed them to change their plan to comport with our recommendations. And that's always exciting to see an applicant come back having considered our recommendations. Yeah, that's about it. There's no problems. A little bit different. One was an engraving, and the last one was use of smooth stone on a facade to replace rusticated stone. Well, not to replace. Yeah, well, it is to replace rusticated stone. But we look forward to presenting these resolutions at the full board meeting. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Kay.
Thanks. All right, transportation.
Yes, we have 2 resolutions. One is an approval of a no standing zone in front of Whizfish's new building at 141-145 West 108th Street. It will be large enough to accommodate an accessorized vehicle. That was pretty unanimously approved. And Howard will give you the other resolution.
The resolution calls on the appropriate authorities to try to keep our streets cleaner. And in connection with that, we call for higher penalties for violating the alternate side of the street rules so that the street cleaners have more access to the curb to keep them cleaner.
Thank you. So that's 2. Housing?
Okay, we haven't met yet. We have people coming from Project Find to talk about the hotel conversion on 79th Street, and they couldn't make the usual date, so they're coming on the 28th. Also, we've just heard about the Fortune Society. The mayor released a press release yesterday, and they're coming in on 258 West 97th Street. Again, a hotel conversion. And this is for mainly homeless. It's going to be a complete conversion. And we asked if they could come and speak at the meeting, and they're going to. So both of them are going to be hotel conversions, but I don't anticipate any resolutions.
Okay. I mean, just for everyone on here, the second one is going to be a very heated conversation. It's about a hotel for recidivism. There's going to be people coming out of jail that are going to go there. I'm just objectively speaking, I would anticipate, you guys want to plan, it's going to be a hot meeting. So
Steve, have you gotten incoming? Like, what makes you say that besides just the population being served?
I think it's a pretty big topic, and we've got some incoming. So
you have gotten. Okay. Anything you can share with us would be much appreciated in advance so we can prepare.
Okay. Well, Max, there is a general list, but there's been early conversations. My anticipation is that based on those 2 facts, that you could have a fairly interested parties coming in.
I'll add, I asked them if they were going to send something. They said they were going to, but just haven't yet. I was going to follow up with Sherry, I believe, who's leading that project. I have a meeting with her on Friday.
Got it. Right.
I don't know if the co-chairs want to join your pre-meeting to this, so perhaps you should follow up with the 2 of them and speak. They've been reaching out to the office as well. Gail Brewer has taken an active role as well. So my suggestion is perhaps you guys all coordinate. There's been a handful of conversations about this over the last 3 days. I think it was announced Friday or Monday. So for those reasons, you guys perhaps can get coordinated.
Okay, what time is the meeting with them on Friday?
Let's talk offline.
I believe it's 10. I'll confirm after this meeting.
Okay, we'll talk.
Okay. Look at that, in live, working. Okay. I think, land use, Richard?
Yeah, hold on.
You're gonna have to mute your computer.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You're gonna have, you're on both your computer and your phone. One of them.
Yeah, because I can't hear on my computer. How's this?
But you still have to mute your computer.
I'm trying. Hold on. I'm gonna get off the computer.
I'm gonna come back to you, Richard, and if you want,
All right.
go in the next room or something, and I'll call on you next or something. But it's a bit like listening to a funky 60s Jimi Hendrix album. Okay, we're gonna continue on. We'll come back to Richard. Let's look at, I don't have my normal paperwork, so we'll just go to YEL, which I think I know the news, but if you guys.
Well, Courtney, you want me to start?
Sure, go for it.
We are having our meeting on Thursday, and we're quite excited about having the author of a recent report from Advocates for Children. Her name is Betty Leon, and she has written a very thorough, to say the least, report. And if you know about the work of Advocates for Children, you know that they're highly professional. Excuse me. So number one, we're inviting anyone who wants to join us to do so. The topic basically is the inequalities, and this is really just condensing it, the inequalities that that are being experienced in preschool and lower school, children with specific needs and disabilities not being able to access or receive the special services that by law they're entitled to. So we expect a very robust discussion. And Courtney, I think you may want to add to that.
Yeah, so the report, hang on. So the report, happy to send it to anyone who wants to read it. We sent it out to YEL. It's really stunning. The numbers. It's the first data that the city has made available about children with special needs in early childhood education. Anyway, I do think we fully anticipate having resolutions coming out of this committee meeting.
Okay. I'm letting everyone know that, you know, it's been so long we haven't been here, but we're having internet issues. So if you see us zooming in and out, we'll do the best we can. And we note to self that we got to get the internet company in here. We popped out a little bit there. I'm going to ask if we could, maybe because of this, if we could sort of, let's see if we could pick up the pace a little bit, because we've been jumping in and out for some reason. So Christian, did you have a quick question about something that was said?
Yes, Courtney, if you can forward that report.
Will do.
Okay, so Richard, are you back? Can you hear us?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. So if you want to give your report, go ahead.
Well, our committee is not meeting this month. I just wanted to announce, if people don't know, that Jeanette has resigned from the committee because she has a very demanding, resigned as chair because she has a very demanding job. And she's just somewhat overwhelmed. She's also not going to seek renewal to the board, but she's been a very good co-chair, and I appreciate her efforts a lot, and I let her know that. The only other thing I wanted to say, Steve, with respect to the hotel on 97th Street, we ought to figure out a way for our public safety task force to communicate with the housing committee, because it sort of overlaps the two disciplines. And I think the public safety task force should weigh in some way to be determined.
I encourage you to join the meeting, but I weigh in. I don't know about that. I'll just leave it there. But
we can cross that bridge when we get there. I think the first step is that the public, anybody from the public safety session meeting should show up at the presentation of housing, and we could figure out what that means in the future. But I think that's the first step. And I'm pretty sure Will or Josh are on here. When they speak, we'll get back to that. But you know, that would be my recommendation. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Let's go to Parks and Environment.
Okay, well, our February meeting this month was combined with Transportation and Preservation, so we could hear the presentation about the Rotunda project. There was no resolution for that, and so we have no resolutions coming up. In March, though, we do have the Central Park Conservancy coming back to us with a presentation, an update presentation on the Harlan Mere project.
Right, but no, they don't take a resolution from that perspective.
Probably in March, not now.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Let's continue on. I think that HHS, Catherine or Shelley?
Yes. This month's meeting's next Tuesday, the 22nd. It's going to be devoted to mental health. Councilman Eric Botcher, who has like 10 initiatives in the mental health proposals for the council, will present the key ones there to us. Reverend James Payne will talk about mental health first aid, and possibly as a result will form a program where people from the community can come and get that type of training, which helps destigmatize mental health and have it better understood. Then we're going to have Mount Sinai from the health systems, Mount Sinai and Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, talk about their initiatives specifically in light of the results of the pandemic and how things may have changed and what strategies and new programs they're implementing. We don't think we'll have a resolution. It's possible that we will have one.
Okay, so it's 50-50 whether they'll have one. As always, the glory of going last is we just ask that you may be on the tight turnaround, but we'll work with Max to sort of get things done. And we understand it's an unreasonable turnaround that unfortunately the scheduling gods have you all. But we'll have Max in terms of the minutes and the resolution itself. Roberta, the budget?
So the Budget and Strategy Committee has been going to each committee. We've taken the first 5 to 10 minutes at each committee. We will continue next week with Health and Human Resource, HHS. We will also go to Parks and we will go to Housing. So far, the reception has been very, very positive. We are planning to meet with a person from Gail's office who wants to look at our budget priorities for the coming year. And we will be meeting in March to look at the budgeting process of the city process. So that's my report.
Great. And I think, and I'm sorry, it dropped down for a second. I think there's some new members as well. I don't know if you just want to announce them.
Benjamin
You added some.
We added 2 new members. We've included Max as our liaison point person, and he will. He's actually a committee member because it's the one committee that includes office people, and we've included Anthony, who's brand new, and Benjamin, who came on last spring. So it's very exciting that we have some growth.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a bigger group, and I think that's a good idea. Okay, let me just make sure I'm looking through everything. Okay, so let's go to some task force, and so I'm going to say the Public Safety Task Force. I'm not sure if I see Polly or Josh or Will in attendance. Was Polly here earlier?
No, I don't think so. I spoke with Josh earlier. He was not going to come. I didn't hear from.
Polly was on the call initially.
Maybe Polly either had some tech issues. So we don't have an update from them. And if something comes along, then we'll figure that out. Okay. Okay. Let's Susan. For the in-person.
Now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Linda Alexander can hear me. Great. So we're moving along very quickly, which is encouraging. I think we've got maybe 2 more months until we're finished with the process. Speaking of Josh Cohen, in honor of the fact that he's now one of the co-chairs of the Public Safety Task Force, we've accepted his resignation from our task force and thank him very much for his steadying influence. One thing you should be looking for in your email box with great excitement and anticipation this week is that we're going to be sending out an email asking for input from the entire board. As folks know, our process here, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The process is that we began revising our bylaws based on the Manhattan Borough President's template that was designed in 2019. Our bylaws were last revised fully in 2013. In 2017, we had 1 amendment. So our bylaws have not been revised in a very long time. We thought the best place to start with our process was with the Manhattan Borough President's template, because that was a large task force, was convened representatives from across the city. So we've been working through that with great gusto. And we plan to have a separate meeting from every other meeting to present this in, let's say, 2 to 3 months. And but we'd like to get everyone's input based on that template beforehand. So I'm going to send that out this week. We're going to look for your input, things that are of concern to you. We'd like to hear about it so we can take it into consideration. That's it. Thank you.
Thank
By
you.
the way, the office does look great.
Look, I zoomed in on you.
Hold on.
You're saying, pull back a little bit. Okay, Ken, you have a question?
Senior Task Force?
Yeah,
No, I think
Yes,
Ken
I-
has a question.
have a question about bylaws, the bylaws task force.
Yeah.
Shouldn't their meetings be recorded, be on YouTube?
They are.
Yeah, they were.
I looked, I couldn't find them.
That's strange. They are.
Okay, we'll get you some links.
I will look again.
Max is great. He can send you the link.
Okay,
I should mention, I'm sorry, I forgot. The next bylaws task force meeting is this Thursday at 10 a.m. for 1
Great.
hour.
Okay. Okay. Or you can watch via Zoom. Okay. Thank you, Rich. I mean, Ken, sorry about that. I'm just trying to put your hand down. Okay, and now we were going to follow up with
Senior Task Force.
Yes.
So we met last week. We're planning a series of very exciting forums for seniors on how to get into housing, how to stay in housing, and how to thrive in housing. It will probably be some kind of hybrid format where we have some in person at some of the senior locations and maybe some other places that can host, and it will also be on Zoom. So we're working out the details, but it should be very exciting. It's different. We've looked at what all the different electeds have been doing. They've all been doing programs, so ours is going to be a bit unique.
Thank you. Okay, I think that was everything, right? All the committees, all the task force? Great. So we'll move on to new business. Jay, I see that you're still on, so I want to give the opportunity to share what your earlier thoughts were. So I don't have any new business. So Jay, I think you're here. You can speak.
Yeah, Stephen, if we're going to, not if, but since we are going to continue Zoom meetings for another month, including a full board meeting and several committee meetings, I wanted to bring up the issue of using the chat room. As all of you know, I think that Rich Robbins' email went to everybody, I believe. And he, on his own, solicited an opinion from the, what's the full name? The New York Open Meetings Commission, and got an opinion from them about what and what not needs to be made available to the public from the chat room. I looked at his request and I looked at the response, and I think it's vague at best. And I don't fault the commission because everything has gone to Zoom meetings with no concurrent changes or amendments to the open meetings law. So it's clearly, obviously, it wasn't designed for this situation. But try and cut this short. They expressed some concern with using the chat room, even though ultimately everything is recorded and is available, if not immediately, at some point to the public. But I disagree with the overall conclusion that the chat room, that everything in the chat room needs to be made immediately public. And the best example I can give is to distinguish between comments on the chat room that are specific to the issue, the public issue being discussed, and comments between individual members or individual members and the chair on matters of procedure or how things are being conducted, things like that that are not addressed to the particular public issue that's being discussed. In my opinion, based on the open meetings law and based on the opinion that Rich got, which by the way, there's nothing official about that opinion. It's not binding in any way. My feeling is that the chat room with this Zoom format is so essential to keeping meetings moving along, to let board members, presenters, members of the public post various pieces of information, links to other sites, informative questions and so forth. And my feeling, having gone through a meeting without the chat room, is it's severely limiting the ordinary dynamic that we've always had at our meetings. And I guess the most extreme example I can give is during our in-person meetings, it's not been uncommon to lean over to another member of our board and make a comment, or send a note to somebody, or get up and walk around the room and whisper in somebody's ear about some possibly irrelevant issue and so forth. And I think it's severely.
I think you want to keep, I think, Jay, because there's others, couple of hands.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, basically, I disagree with the conclusion drawn from the informal opinion that Rich obtained. And I very, very strongly urge that you, and if Stephen, or in conjunction with the executive committee who decides these things, that if we have to do this for another month, you need to restore the chat room. And if necessary, just give some guidance as to what will be made public and what won't be made public.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Elizabeth, did you have something to add?
Sure, just really quickly, we are trying to do a meeting of board members before the full board meeting, which I believe is March 1st, right? That's the next full board meeting. Max can hopefully back that up, where I think some of your questions, Jay, can be addressed as it pertains to the return to meetings and Zoom. And I think we need to have like an airing of those questions separately from this discussion, but I wanted to raise that tonight. And then I also think there needs to be a public meeting, which we've tried to do, and every time we've tried to do it, there's been another variant of the virus. But before the March 15th deadline that we started this whole meeting out on. So my hope is that, Jay, we can address some of those concerns in a meeting before the end of this month, and before the March full board meeting, make an announcement at the full board meeting that we're going to do some sort of conversation involving the public, and then make recommendations based on what you've said about the chat and about how we're proceeding with both full board meetings, hybrid schedules, and everything else. Thanks.
Thank you.
I just say that's great, Elizabeth, but I'm also concerned that we need to deal with the next 30 days.
Got it.
And your schedule isn't going to address that. That's my concern also.
Understood. Ken?
I agree with Jay. What Rich was asking the board about was what some board members were doing, which was sending messages just to hosts and panelists rather than to everyone. So messages were the public wasn't able to see certain messages that were going among board members. If we could stop doing that and just send all messages to everyone, I don't see any reason why we couldn't have the chat restored. And has any other board removed the chat? None that I know of, I don't know. But I think it's essential that it's a great tool, and I think we need to have it back where we just all talk to everyone rather than host some panelists. Then we don't get in trouble.
Thank you, Ken. Christian?
I essentially agree with Jay. I don't think we want to have everybody talk to everybody because that brought chaos before. We don't want to repeat that. But I'd be interested to know, Stephen, did we get any feedback from the Manhattan Borough President's office?
We did, and I'm going to answer everyone's questions when we get to that. So I did speak to the Manhattan Borough. There was a recommendation. Roberta?
I'd rather hear your recommendation.
Okay. You don't want to add anything, your thoughts, or you just want the recommendation?
No, I'd like to hear the recommendation. I don't have a problem with not having the chat. I mean, there were times when the chat got really kind of unpleasant.
Well, that's a different issue.
Thank you.
And I don't know how you control, my other question was technical. Like if I decide to chat with let's say, Courtney and Shelley, I'm just picking two pictures from the Hollywood Squares, and I send them a message, what's to stop me from doing that? Can you fix the chat so that all messages have to be to everybody?
Great. So I'm going to give you a pretty short and concise story. I shared this with the Manhattan Borough President legal team, which is essentially Adele. She read all of the correspondence. I got feedback from her, and what was basically said to her played out today, that everyone will have a different opinion about what should happen. There are gray areas. Jay feels, he reads it one way. We have concerns from Richard the other way. A question was asked, several other boards don't use the chat. She said most of the other boards don't use the chat. And she recommended that we do not use the chat. And we are going to take her recommendations. That's the decision that's been made. A recommendation came. We're going to follow that recommendation. And that's what's going to happen. And that's, some people have different opinions, but that's where we landed out, and I look for guidance from her, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move on, but I'll let Mark speak if you have a question, Mark, but we're going to move on from this topic.
Understood, and I don't second guess your decision or the advice. I mean, I might have come out differently, but I'm not going to second guess following the advice of the lawyer that we rely on. So I understand that. It would be helpful, as we demonstrated tonight, to be able to have some kind of communication so that, for example, when I was trying to say that Courtney wasn't among panelists, there is some way to do that. The chat used to be that function, and it appears that when that panelists can no longer use the Q&A, only attendees can use the Q&A, or at least that's been my experience. So if there's some other functionality that can do that ministerial part of this, that would be helpful for meeting management without having to interrupt all the time. Thanks.
And we are exploring those options. And Max and I have had a couple of conversations, and we're going to explore what we can do. Okay. Any other new or old business that somebody wants to bring up? Okay, well then I'm going to adjourn the first hybrid meeting. We got mostly there. Then we'll wave to everyone. We're going to have that TV work in the future. I got to figure it, but I'm glad we were able to finally have some type of non-Zoom meeting. I'm happy to see Andrew. I haven't seen him in a while. Susan, I bumped into once, though. I bumped into you on the street, and Max, I see often. So I look forward to seeing other people in the future. So thank you very much. And I'll see you in the coming days on other meetings and our full board. Thank you.